And back on Home Track Heroes here at Evergreen Speedway. Coming up next is our B main event for the Interstate Battery Hornets. Top four, if they choose to, can transfer. And let's bring you the lineup. And with that, let's go to Tom Glitherow.
You're right. Starting on the pole in the 10H, it's a 22-year-old out of Marysville. It's Peyton Mayberry. Outside of Peyton in the 13X, Ryan Liberty. In row 2, the 15 of Matt Snyder. Outside of Matt will be the 03 of Lucas Houdenfluck. In the third row, the 98X of Tom Hibbs. Outside of him, in the 64 car, a 16-year-old kid out of Everett, Washington, it's Deacon Postel. In row 4, Matt Lawson in the 26, and outside of Matt will be the 2G of Brad Gruhl.
In the number 19C will be Cassidy Sundholm. In the 32, Chase Gardner. The 54X, keep an eye on this young man. He is our current points leader coming in, but just didn't quite get it together in qualifying, so we'll keep an eye on this one. The 54 of Brendan Theriault, the 14 of Austin Kramer, and rounding out the field in the 22 is Kelly Ballou. And while we're getting them lined up and ready to go, I want to mention to you that this segment is brought to you by Central Welding Supply to keep the critical supply chains rolling for essential products and services. Central Welding Supply offers the gases, safety products, and welding supplies you need to get back to business. Visit them online at centralwelding.com. So it'd be kind of cool as we get this thing underway. Keep an eye, as we mentioned, the 54, Brendan Theriault. He's got a long ways to go to get up to the top. But,
you're right. As the points leader, I mean, this could be devastating to him if he does not make that A main tonight. And what it amounts to is probably one bad lap in qualifying, and here he is stuck deep in this B main.
Yeah, and as we always want to do, thanks again to Interstate Batteries for being behind our Hornet division as they have since virtually day one, many years ago when we brought this concept here to Evergreen Speedway. You can see that they're on our road course, and I like the fact, as we see a car spun around there just as they were heading into turn number 1. Hopefully they'll keep that thing going, and we won't have to break out a caution flag, and we don't. But man, Ryan Liberty in the 13X has just run away with this thing as he is you can see the difference in lap times, 24.924 to a 26.296. A lot of speed and really well driven by Ryan.
Theriault buried still back, just moved into the 6th spot. Has to get in that top 4. The top 4 have the choice of going to that A main event, and I'm really, really certain if he makes it, he's going to take that move up because he needs those points.
Yes, he does. Coming into this, like we mentioned, our points leader is Brendan Theriault, and a good shot of him right there in that 54X car. I love the vinyl scheme on that car. Really easy to pick out. As we get a car that washed out wide, you can get an idea of the skill set of Brendan Theriault as this race keeps going on. Back up front, it is Ryan Liberty in the 13X car, Matt Snyder in second, Dawson Postel in the 64, Matt Lawson in 4th, and Peyton Mayberry in the 5th spot as we are working lap number 5 of our B main event for our Hornets. We don't bring many B main events on, so this one is kind of special. So again, thanks to all these people for coming out on what was a hot day, probably the hottest day of the year in Monroe, this particular day this was run. And I like the fact that Brandy was asking the question to the guys, Tom, what's the heat do to you? And I love the answer by that one gentleman. I hate it, and I understand completely what you're talking about. But it affects a lot of things above and beyond how you feel inside the car.
Well, even just in a regular day, your regular routine, sometimes when the heat comes up, you're just a little crankier than normal. Well, put yourself in a race car, which is like staying, in a sauna for a long period of time. You're already cranky. It's going to squeeze through there. But, it just makes it a little tougher on everyone to control themselves to make sure that it does. Because race cars, by nature, aren't the most comfortable places to be. It's not like your Barca lounger at home. But the heat sometimes makes racing and people in racing do some pretty strange things.
Boy, Ryan Liberty absolutely walking away with this B main event as we are on lap number 8. I believe 12 is the distance on this one.
15 laps.
15. Okay,
you betcha.
Cool. Thank you. And a little bit over to the halfway point of these. And we mentioned the top 4, if they choose to, can move up. Some people are just pretty happy to get a B main event win and call it a day. And I don't think there's anybody that would dispute the fact, man, do I really want to do 30 more laps in this temperature? But a lot of people do, and that's why we like them.
You know, you're absolutely right. But anytime you get a chance to get in a race car, most of the time you run laps and laps and laps. Right now you can see Deacon Postel in the 64 car under some really, really heavy pressure from Lawson and Terrio. So those three cars right there, all battling. And the one thing you don't want to do is tangle and take each other out and then not get to transfer to the main event.
Wow, that Terrio with a nice move coming out of the high point at turn number 4 there off of the 3/8. And let's see how well he does. He's going to work the high spot of turn number 2 as they go down the backstretch on the 3/8. A lot of traffic ahead of our points leader, the 54 of Terrio. You can see him in that shot we just left, trying to figure out how to get around 4 cars because he's only needs to finish 4th in order to move up. So he's getting there. He's in that spot right now, but being the racer that we all know he is, he's going to want more. And boy, there he goes right there out of turn number 2 and down the backstretch.
You're right, but they don't. This class of cars doesn't have spotters, so they don't have anybody to remind them that, hey, the goal here is to transfer. A win is nice, but the goal is to transfer. So keep it all together. But you know, race car drivers by nature, if there's somebody in front, even if it's going down I-5, you got to try and pass them.
There goes Terrio underneath the 64 of Deacon Postel. Postel with a nice run coming off that high point, turn number 2 on the 3/8. Giving Terrio all he wants as they head down in turn number 3 to wrap up lap number 13 as they come across the start-finish line. There he is. He did get around him, second place now for Brandon Terrio.
And, you know, and so if he can just maintain that, right now it looks very, very difficult with just 3 laps to go. He's going to have a shot at Ryan Liberty, so it's okay. Just bring it home in one piece. Don't do anything dumb. Take the second place, and then we'll move on and worry about points come a main event time.
Good shot there of just how far ahead Ryan Liberty is in this one, as you can see him just heading down the backstretch now, and Terrio making that hard right-hand turn up onto the backstretch. So an impressive lead as the laps are winding down for our Interstate Battery Hornet B main event.
A couple cars buried in this B main, and 7th spot Lucas Houdenlook, and 8th place Cassidy Sunholm. Those are cars that a lot of times we'll see in the A main, but you get a bad qualifying lap, you're stuck in there, and sometimes it's just not your day.
White flag out as he's about halfway through on his way to the B main event win, and that is Ryan Liberty. You see the lineup there: Brandon Terrio in 2nd, Deacon Postel in 3rd, and Austin Kramer. There he is. There's your winner, Ryan Liberty, with just an incredibly fast Interstate Battery Hornet. And there's 2nd spot coming right across Terrio. He's got mission 1. Look at that.
Whoa. We got to get to the line.
Oh. Good job by missing the 20, I believe it was the 26 there. Yep, there it was. The 26 car of Matt Lawson with a wild ride coming out of there. So we're going to come back. We'll have more Home Track Heroes from Evergreen Speedway Figure 8 Nationals.